Nicely done.
Try it tonight.
Listen,
I wish I had Wi-Fi at my house so we could play Call of Duty.
Oh, listen, right now.
Big
Take-
L. Wait. Is that an L? Is that backwards to you
tape
guys?
right now, mate.
that's backwards.
It's the spirit. We
Big
get it.
L.
Right, I gotta grind that tape on Division 3 Edge prospects, obviously.
I thought you were saying Division 3 like the video game, and I was like, they made a third one already?
Nah.
That's where my mind is right now.
Well,
Been at work since 9 o'clock this morning. Have not left.
Nate, I thought that was your office, bro.
I haven't been at work since March 20th.
Oh, that must be nice.
I mean, I
Wait,
don't
are you
make
getting
money.
paid? Oh,
Well-
no, then it's not nice. Never mind.
No,
Never mind.
Nice.
Never mind.
I'm collecting
This is my-
unemployment.
This is my radio. I could talk over the radio while we go. I'm going to put this down in front of me to make me look super official.
There you go.
Even though I'm
Flex.
using my
Wow.
computer audio.
Just start talking like Colin Cowherd.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl at the end of 2021.
No, he said
He's a backwards hat.
no, he
future
said
top
Colin
three
Coward, not Skip
quarterback.
Bayless, bro.
B. Marsh, I got to be honest with you. You're being a little disrespectful. Do you see that shit today between Brandon Marshall and Sean Payton?
No.
It was Brandon Marshall couldn't even crack the Saints roster when all he had to beat was Keith Kirkwood, and he said that the Saints are going to be bad this year.
Listen, we're not going to talk
Yikes.
about who said that last year, but
Yeah, that's fair.
well, I didn't say they were going to be bad. I just didn't think they were winning the division. I thought they were making
No.
But
No, he said that the Saints window is done, which that's more fair, but then he like went on and was just like, you got
How
your
can you
coach
say
out, you're
that?
giving up your whole playbook. It was
how
just
can he say
All right,
that?
boys,
They have
ready?
like a 15-year window with Taysom Hill.
the
Come
next
on.
Steve Young, baby.
15 years at least.
All right. You guys ready?
Yeah.
The Lions, Cardinals, and Pats already. Yes.
All right. Welcome to, I guess, kind of around the 412. We have
Around
had an
the
episode on
USA
here.
today.
We have had an episode on here with Donnie and Richie. Donnie's back again. Donnie's in love with this podcast right now. He's going to
Love
ton
you
of love on
guys.
around the 412. But anyway, me, Tyler, Donnie, and Richie are joined with two of our friends from Mobile, Alabama. We're going to do a mock draft for you guys. If you guys want to start off introducing yourselves, first of all.
Jake, you go first.
Talk first, and you want me to go first? What?
Yeah, well, I have the first pick, so you go first.
Oh, okay. Jake Shavink here, right for NFL Mocks. A lot of fan-sided stuff. Covered mostly draft. It's been a grind. Can't wait for it to be over, kind of. Can't lie.
Love it, love it, love it.
Can't lie.
That's relatable. I'm Nate Williamson. I write for Fansided, Canal Street Chronicles, college football, college basketball, New Orleans Saints, starting U.S. soccer pod here really soon. That's actually an official announcement. So around the 412 heard it first.
Breaking
Breaking news.
But yeah,
This is tell.
do some NFL draft stuff. Check out our NFL draft Periscope. Gang. Around the 217. I'm starting it.
All right. And Richie's been on here, like I said before, but Richie, I don't know if you introduced yourself and said like where you write for, where your stuff can be found last time. So go ahead.
Well, just to be safe, it's great to be back on. I write for Ebony Bird, which is the Baltimore Ravens fan-sided page. So I know kind of not welcome here on the 412 in the Pittsburgh area, but if you guys are interested in your rivals content, go ahead and give me a click.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to promote it right there. When we're getting ready to play, maybe we have to bring you on when we play the Ravens, like Ravens Week or something.
Dude,
Yeah, that'd be
hateful
a fun
clicks
time.
are the best clicks.
Yeah.
These are true. These are
All
very
right.
true.
Like I said, we all got our teams. I will be drafting for the Dolphins, Giants, and Falcons. Donnie's going to draft for the Vikings, Lions, Cardinals, and Pats. Richie's got the Ravens, of course, the Jaguars, the Jets, the Cowboys. Tyler, a.k.a. Beefy, depending on how you know him, has the 49ers, Redskins, Bucks, and Eagles. Nate has the Saints, the Bengals, Panthers, Browns, Titans, and Chiefs. And Jake has the Packers, Raiders, Chargers, Broncos, and Seahawks. So, with that being said, Nate will be kicking off the draft because he declined my trade with the Dolphins.
Well, in all honesty, you gave it your best shot with the
I
trade.
did.
I took it into consideration. So let it be known, but I think this one's pretty set in stone here. I've seen some mocks where we've led off with the first pick just going absolutely haywire.
Yeah.
It's fun, but I wanted to give you guys the best and what I think is going to happen. So the Bengals are selecting Joe Burrow, quarterback, Louisiana State University. What's not to love about Joe Burrow, Burreaux, to me, an LSU fan? I love this guy. Despite all of his reported hand size problems, which my hands are super small. But he's looking like a guy that in a couple of years could be a top tier quarterback. Just the way he moves through the pocket it's graceful, I think is the best way to describe it. I love to watch him this year. It'll be interesting to see what the Bengals can put around him. Him working with AJ Green is something I'm really excited for.
Yeah, before we move on to pick number 2, it's just Joe Burrow. The ascension's been crazy over this last year. I mean, it was all last year as soon as the season ended, tanked for Tua, and for Joe Burrow to have the senior year that he did, and then pretty much be locked in as the number 1 pick. Insane, the ascension there.
He had the best single season in college football history. I think
Definitely.
Yeah. I don't think anybody won the national championship and the Heisman and had the stats that he did, like, ever.
I don't think so.
Short of like a Tim Tebow?
Like Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cam Newton might be the closest.
I
one.
was about to
Yeah.
ask. I couldn't remember if Cam Newton what his numbers looked like, but I know that's the comparison. Like the fact that Joe Burrow's in the comparison with Cam Newton, it was like Cam Newton had the best season ever. Now Joe Burrow's like, no, you didn't.
No,
I'm gonna let you finish.
All right, but pick number 2. That's going to be Beefy with the Redskins.
Yeah, with the number 2 overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Redskins are selecting Chase Young, defensive end out of Ohio State. In my opinion, he is the most NFL ready and the best prospect in the draft, even over Joe Burrow. But I understand why the Bengals are picking Joe Burrow. So even though, like, it doesn't really matter what position needs the Redskins needed, they're drafting him number 2. There's no question about it. And he's going to be a stud in the NFL, I think, right away. Which is why I was always one of the people that I would argue the Bengals should still draft Chase Young over Joe Burrow, because I think you can still suck as a team and get a better quarterback, or not a better quarterback, but a quarterback still next year and still have Chase Young on your team. But the Redskins get Chase Young. He's going number 2.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue that pick. Like you said, there's an argument to be made that he is the best player. Cincinnati obviously having the need at quarterback, the quarterback being the premium position in the NFL. They're going to take the best one available, which is Joe Burrow. But yeah, number 2, the Redskins sitting pretty in a place to take Chase Young. Even though, like you said, defensive line, not necessarily their greatest need. I think you could argue that cornerback after cutting Josh Norman. And who was it that they traded? They brought back Fuller, but they traded, what's his name, to Seattle?
Quinn Dunbar? Is that right?
Yeah, Dunbar. Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely a need at corner. You could argue, like, should they take Jeff Okudah? But I think Chase Young, yeah, like you said, the dominant player that he is, he's going to step in right away and be one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. So yeah, he goes number 2. Number 3 with the Lions pick. Donnie, what are we doing here?
Well, shoot, man. Speaking of Jeffrey Okudah, with the 3rd overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions selected Jeff Okudah, defensive back, Ohio State. I will refuse to put those 3 letters in front of that university for varying reasons. But not just talking about Okudah, the Lions lose Darius Slay in the offseason via a trade. Don't ever let me see you do that again, man. I hate it. They lose Slay, obviously one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. You're going to try to find a way to replace him. What better way to do that than arguably the best, secondary player coming into the draft? Jeffrey Okudah has everything you're looking for. Whenever you look for a cornerback, physical guy, smart guy. He has great ball skills, but most importantly, he's a leader on the field, and that's something Detroit's been lacking here in the last couple of years. So they take Okudah, they get their back end solidified, and then hopefully they get some leadership out of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a need with Slay there. And now that Slay's not there,
Yes.
we're taking him. So you could argue that they were going to take Okuda with Slay being there. But now that Slay's not there, they could hand in their draft card right now.
Yeah, I
Um,
will say I did try to trade down. No bites though.
Ooh.
No bites.
Yeah. We might as well just bring it up now that there were no trades that were able to be completed in this draft. Everyone was hanging on to their picks. Being the Dolphins with 3 picks, I should have been the most active. After I couldn't get that number 1, I was like, I'm sitting with my 3. But I will say too, I wanted to bring up real quick before we move on. It is my pick anyway, that we do have people in the YouTube chat already roasting Richie in the Ravens.
I pretty much was expecting that. so.
And also someone said, take a shot every time Tim Tebow's mentioned. And then Stubbs said, no, chug a glass of red wine every time a player from LSU gets drafted.
Oh God.
Ugh.
Well,
Oh God.
If it was
Yikes.
Ohio State, we'd have
every
2 out of
time
3
I
already.
draft 2 players,
Yeah.
Bottoms up.
Do you guys remember that video that went viral from the combine of Okuda and his footwork on one of the drills that he was doing?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of whenever someone mentions Okuda is looking at his feet.
Yeah.
They're so smooth.
Weird.
He's
I
just
know.
unreal.
I know.
Unreal.
So, like I said, I have the 4th pick with the Giants. A lot of different directions that I could have gone here. I went with Isaiah Simmons, defense, Clemson. I'm not going to put a position on him, and that's why I'm picking him. I think that he's a versatile chess piece for that defense that you can immediately build around. Obviously considered taking one of like the big 4 tackles of this draft class, obviously to protect Daniel Jones. That would have been a nice investment. But I just think Isaiah Simmons is too good of a player to pass up. I think Dave Gettleman will fall in love with this kid, already has fallen in love with this kid. And like I said, he's going to immediately step in and be able to fill multiple roles for them, whether it be matching up in the slot, filling the middle of the field, whoever, covering tight ends. It doesn't matter what you ask this kid to do on defense. He's going to be able to do it. So Isaiah Simmons is the pick for me here.
Jake, what is your best Isaiah Simmons comp that you always use?
I've put down Man of Steel. Heir to the Iron Throne might be my favorite.
Nice.
There's so many good ones.
There's a lot that you can just. This dude's just a freak of nature in the best ways that you can have for a football player.
Yeah, I can't say that I was first to call him an Avenger, but I did make an Avenger joke, and I'll save it for my first pick that I have.
Wasn't there a tweet that someone asked what position he would play in the NFL, and he quoted it and just said defense?
Yeah.
There you go.
That's why I had to introduce him as my draft pick, being defense,
Yeah.
because I don't know exactly how they're going to use him, but I don't care how they're going to use him.
Just have him
Also-
roaming around the field. Doesn't matter where.
Also, Stubbs caught your thing about Okuda and said, does Beefy have a foot fetish?
I don't know. Do you have an OnlyFans account?
We
Stubbs?
can't answer that on stream, but tweet at us.
Slide in my DMs.
So I'm still on the clock here. I'm picking for the Dolphins as well. So at number 5, I am going with Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, Alabama. Now, this was a tough pick for me because it's not necessarily what I think they're going to do. It would be what I would do if I were the Dolphins. And that's kind of the way that I went with my draft. I'm not sure if you guys were doing what you thought or what you would do if you were the team in the position. But for me, I think I would bank on the health. I would bank on the upside. As I mentioned last year when the season ended, it was kind of tank for Tua, and we thought the Dolphins would be the team in that position. Although they won 5 games with Brian Flores, which was unexpected with the roster they had, so they weren't in the position to pick number 1. Yet Tua is still going to be sitting there for them at number 5. And I just think that you look at that roster, I think that they can rebuild quickly. I like what they've done in free agency, and I like having Ryan Fitzpatrick there as a bridge guy for Tua. So yeah, like I said, I'm banking on the upside, banking on the medicals coming back clean, and getting him a year of really like redshirting under Ryan Fitzpatrick in that Dolphin system. No rebuttals there.
No arguments here.
No, you're right.
I think you put it perfectly.
I don't know if anybody's going to fight with that one.
I don't think so.
In my most
Because there's-
recent article, I put something like, not worried about Tua now. I'm worried about Tua 5 years from now. But at the point where you're at right here, his upside's just way too good. And what he already looks like is just way too good. I'm worried about now and maybe 3-4 years, not as much that farther down the line. So it's interesting. And if he's perfectly healthy, you have a dynasty maker on your hands, in my opinion, and probably QB1 if kind of back and forth with Burrow, but
Wow.
he's up there. He's up there.
Nate, the
Yeah,
fact that you said he's up there with Burrow.
Yeah,
as
I
an
know.
LSU
Coming from
fan,
me, that
is great. So you got to take that.
I know the Joe Burrow jersey is in the mail too, so that's
Yeah.
that's something else.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of smoke here with this pick as being Justin Herbert. They like him better. You know, the medicals are obviously cleaner. But I don't know. I mean, that could very well be the direction that they go because of that. You just wonder if not for the way that teams are really having to evaluate these guys with the COVID-19 situation, would that still be the case? Like, you know, it could get in there, actually be able to meet with these teams, meet with the medical staffs of these teams. Would that, you know, would the Dolphins be enticed to take him at number 5 as opposed to maybe they don't want to because there's still some concern there? I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see how that comes down the chain and how they like this long-standing thing. Dolphins, Tua, warm weather environment, great QB. It'll be interesting to see how they value that and this long-standing kind of idea down the line versus a Herbert who's got a lot of people now backing him as, I hate to say this because it feels like a joke to me, as their QB2, but I'll leave that to them. That's not me.
QB1 as well.
QB1.
Wait, have you seen QB1?
Yeah.
Oh,
100%.
Jesus.
At least 3-4 people.
Kindly
Yeah.
show yourself the door.
I get the sense that people just kind of want to be different.
Yeah.
Especially this time of
I
year, like people are like, I'm just going to throw something against the wall and hope it sticks.
Yeah.
Because you look
I
like a
think-
genius. You look like a genius if it comes true. And if not, I was just, you know, messing around.
Yeah, that's true. You heard it here first, folks. Jake Fromm, Smitty, QB1.
I was about to say our page needs some clicks. Jake Fromm is QB1.
Throw takes out right now.
Some more comments are rolling in. Someone said that they've been doing a lot of mocks over the past few days, and Tua has fallen out of the top 15 in those mocks. I mean, like we mentioned, mocks can be weird. I've done some on the Draft Network where Burrow doesn't go till 6 to the Chargers. Like
Yeah.
it just, yeah. So
Sometimes simulators are goofy, but sometimes they might have something. You know, you never know. It's interesting.
You always
But
get those unicorn drafts.
we got Logan Bell in here right now.
The one and only.
LB.
Comparing Tua to Daniel Jones is not the same. Who's that for? Who compared?
Not me.
I don't know.
Wait, what?
I thought maybe it was one of you two, like in person or something.
I don't.
Couldn't be
Never.
me.
I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
You don't want to hear my thoughts on Daniel Jones.
Okay.
Dave, we can clip. We probably can get clipped of our thoughts on Daniel Jones last
Yeah,
year. That
it's
was-
been a long-standing.
I
Yeah.
felt so bad for that man on draft night.
True.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. I still kind of feel bad for him. That dude takes so much crap, rightfully so. But, you know, that's enough.
I just got a message from
Go for it.
Logan himself. He said he's going to start fighting people in the chat. So someone in the chat must have said something about Tua being Daniel Jones. So watch out,
Oh,
everyone.
okay.
LB's coming for blood.
All right. Well, to keep things moving here, I believe, Jake has the Chargers at number 6. So
Yeah. So definitely thought about taking a quarterback. This was kind of like an in-between, like what I would do, what the Chargers might do. I don't know. It's hard to buy into the fact that they're sold on a guy like Tyrod Taylor to be their quarterback when the roster looks pretty good overall. But I rolled with it. I think there's a chance that they take someone like Tristan Wirfs, who was my selection, and they move back potentially into the first round to get someone like Eason or Love if they fall. So, yeah, I went Tristan Wirfs, I think, over Wills, even though Wills is my tackle 1. There's a lot of question marks about, people talking about can a tackle flip to the other side. There's comments, David Bakhtiari of the Packers, who, I'm a fan of. He always talks about how switching sides is rough for technique and all that. So I went with the guy who I know can play either side. Seen him do both his last year at Iowa, so I feel comfortable with that. I think he's powerful at the point of attack. I like his mobility. Dude can play tight end. We've seen it. He's an athlete. I mean, like I said, I made the joke. I think Isaiah Simmons made him an Avenger after his combine performance. An elite RAS in the tight end category for Wirfs at the combine. It's wild what he put together. And you bank on players like that. And again, I think he's got a high ceiling, and you have Wirfs and Balaga at tackle. Wow. I like that a lot.
Brian Balaga, Iowa.
Yep.
Sorry, just had
Wirfs,
to.
Iowa, Brian Balaga, Iowa.
no, there might be some scrutiny there for not taking a quarterback. But you listen to everything that the Chargers are saying. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor this year. It sounds like, of course, that could just be smoke. To me, it could potentially be one of those situations where a team goes into the season. Tyrod Taylor starts like 6 games, even though the team says that they want their rookie quarterback to sit an entire year, and then whoever it is steps in and plays. But yeah, I mean, being able to sit there and still be the first team to take a tackle off the board, they're going to have their pick of the litter at 6 if no one else takes one. So if me being the Giants at 4, like I said, took Simmons, the
Yeah.
Chargers at 6 very well could have their pick of the tackles. So
It could be they're saying that they want Tua to fall to 6 potentially.
Yeah.
That could be part of it. I still think, like I said, I think there's a chance that, they see Jordan Love slip, or maybe even Eason, who I don't know about that, but they see one of them slip and they go down and they're like, all right, let's trade up and get one of these guys. We know we can sit one of these two and they have a high ceiling.
I do want to correct something in the chat, because that's what Logan was talking about. Our friend Tyler had said how I mentioned Tua falling out of the top 15 and he landed at 18 to the Dolphins. And Tyler was relating it to the Giants situation last year where they had 2 picks, 6 and 17, how the Dolphins have 5 and 18, and being able to take him at 18 as opposed to 5. Like people said they could have waited till 17 last year if they wanted to take Daniel Jones. But anyways, that's what he was saying.
Hey, the Browns had picks 1 and 4, and they took Baker number 1. So anything can happen like that. They're going to
just
pick
make
who
sure
they
you
want to
get your
pick.
guy.
Yeah.
Also, with if you talk about Tyrod, if they want to go with him, I guess you could say he brought a team to the playoffs like 3 years ago. So it's not the worst.
The 10-6 Bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst playoff games I've ever watched, them and the Jaguars.
Oh,
My goodness. Anyway, Nate, you have the Panthers here, your beloved Carolina Panthers.
Absolutely. I don't know if I could call them my second favorite team in the NFC South. That's a tight race between 2 teams, but it doesn't really matter. And we're kind of actually going back to a conversation Jake kind of touched on. A lot of talk about whether guys can switch from one side of an offensive line to another. And staying in this spot and going ahead and selecting Jedrick Wills, you get that same kind of question. He brings that kind of junkyard dog mentality on the right side. I don't know how I feel about him switching to left, but at the least, he's going to bring kind of that aggressive run blocking, pass protecting game to an entire offensive line. I think it's an immediate upgrade here. His skill set is top tier. He's got a little bit of mental processing skills left to go with, but there might not be a hotter stock coming into the pre-draft process than Jedrick Wills, and he's maintained that, held on to this first round. He's savvy. He's got good awareness, and I really like him on the Panthers. And as a Saints fan, I really don't like him on the Panthers because I like sacks, and you don't get them against him.
Yeah, this is a spot where you could potentially see a trade down. I know that's been talked
Mhm.
about a lot. Like I said, we didn't do any trades in this. None of them were able to be complete. I think that they would love for Isaiah Simmons to fall, but I wasn't going to allow that to happen as the Giants. But yeah, Jedrick Wills is a guy, as you mentioned, we know is going to be able to play the right tackle position. If he can play the left tackle position, great. That would obviously be a more premium position for him to play. But everything that he's done definitely warrants being a top 10 pick, so I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of debate about these 2 top tackles that we've seen go off. I know me and Jake have had conversations about it. We've been talking about it all draft season for most of us. Between them, Andrew Thomas, then you got Mekhi Becton in there as well. I'm sure he'll come up later, I bet. So it's interesting to kind of see how this comes together, and we'll see how NFL teams really value this position. Top tier tackles, they don't come often. So when you get this stacked of a class at the top end, leap on it if you can.
Yeah, the Dolphins aren't happy about what's going on right now.
Dolphins in
Back?
shambles.
Oh no.
Okay, so moving on to pick number 8, the Arizona Cardinals. Donnie, the hometown team, who they taking?
Yeah, as you can see behind me, scenes in the war room, they are panicking. Their top 2 tackles, Worson Wills, just went. There's talk of a receiver going here that very well could happen. CeeDee Lamb reuniting with Kyler Murray. However, I'm just now getting word that the team will select Derek Brown, defensive line from Auburn, as their pick. They want to address the defense and want to shore that side of the football up. You have Chandler Jones, rushing on the outside. Derek Brown can come in there very big motor guy when he wants to. He can rush the passer. He can do a little bit of everything. He's a bully to the defense that the Cardinals need, and that's who they're going with. Back to you.
Yeah, my only question is the when he wants to part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a bit of a question for me, and that's kind of the knock on him is that he doesn't always 100% go whenever he's out on the football field. I'm sure you can find a lot of that in a lot of these tackles coming through the draft, but if you're going to be a top 10 pick, you kind of need to make sure you're going to take care of the effort part of it, some of the things that you can't control. But regardless, you take the talent and you do see if you can work through some of those issues.
Yeah, and with what the Cardinals did, I mean, they were able to upgrade a receiver through a trade that nobody thought would happen. Kind of just fell right in their lap. Re-signing 2 tackles, so they solidified their offensive line in that way. So they're kind of in a position where, yeah, they can take a Derek Brown because they don't have that immediate need at receiver or along the offensive line. You could still make a case for either one of those being the position to take here, I think, but it puts them in a position where they can take the best player on their board. I would advocate for them to go defense because I think that what they have on offense is more than enough. I expect Kyler Murray to take a huge leap in year 2. Donnie and I were on the train last year. I don't know where you guys were on Kyler Murray, but I just know from doing our fantasy show and stuff that we were on the train last year, but absolutely love that offense. So I would go defense here at number 8. So I'd like to pick.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals are hoping very best case scenario that Isaiah Simmons falls down the board. I don't see it happening. It didn't happen in our mock. I don't think it's going to happen 1 week from now on Thursday. So Isaiah Simmons would be the ideal pick here. Like you said, it wouldn't shock me if they went either of the other 2 tackles, that are kind of in that like top 4 class. But yeah, Derek Brown's not a bad pick here.
Right. Okay. Moving on. The Jags sit at number 9 overall, and that would be Mr. Richard Bradshaw.
Checking
Been the
in
worst
with
wink I've ever seen, but
you got to get the whole face in motion with it. That's how you really sell it. Anyway, checking in with the Jacksonville Jaguars here. They have quite a few needs for a team that was just in the AFC Championship game a few short years ago. But right now I'm looking at this offensive line, and I see Jawan Taylor, rock solid at my right tackle spot. Cam Robinson, I'm not so sure. He had the ACL tear. He hasn't been anything special. So we're going to go ahead and get them a left tackle so that they can continue to build an offensive identity around pounding a rock with Leonard Fournette. And they're going to go ahead and take Mekhi Becton, the big old father mucker out of Louisville.
I like it.
He's a big dude, and he's a big athletic dude. He's not just like this stone foot, cement legged, big body. He can move very well. He's very agile for as big as he is. And he's a massive human being. I don't know if I've said that enough yet, but
No.
Big dude, long arms. You're going to have a really hard time getting around this guy. He's going to manhandle defensive linemen at the next level easily. If he hits a ceiling, this is a Tyron Smith kind of tackle prospect. And you got to think that Jacksonville would love to do that and get themselves another protector for Gardner Minshew, who, as of right now, is the answer at quarterback. And I do have them bypassing on Justin Herbert because I think that you would much rather roll out with this 5th round or 6th round draft choice who's not costing you hardly anything. And at the end of the day, I ask you guys this: Cam Newton's on the market. Would you rather have Cam Newton or would you rather have Justin Herbert?
Tough. I think I would rather have Herbert just because you'd be able to mold him, kind of get him in your system, kind of have those planted feet already, get him going from day one. I understand you want the veteran presence in Cam Newton. He's a very accomplished NFL quarterback. He's a little banged up, though. Not to say that Herbert's some like immaculate Superman dude. That's incapable of being hurt. But like just from like going forward with your franchise, I think you have to take the younger guy here.
More than likely. I guess the point I was just trying to illustrate is like you're rolling with Minshew right now, and you don't want to have to spend the 1st round capital on a quarterback when he's fine, and you can get a quality backup in Cam. That's more or less my point. But at the end of the day, pick here's got to be Becton.
I agree.
Go ahead, Nate.
Oh, sorry. I agree with the Cam statement. I think wherever if he does end up somewhere else, he's going to be probably starting out as a backup anyway, just where he's at with his injuries. So I can definitely understand you have this 1st round pick. If you have Minshew, who somehow turns out to be not anything like what we've seen, which has been at least fine down the line, next year's quarterback class, the year after that, they'll always be there. And you only get so many first round picks. So if you can make it work with a 5th rounder, we've seen it work over time. Build a cast around them, see what happens.
Yeah, the Jags are actually my pick to be the worst team in the NFL this year.
That was
So if Minshew, if that does happen, and you're sitting there at number 1 next year, Trevor Lawrence is sitting there at number 1 next year. There's your answer at quarterback anyway. If they're the worst team in the NFL, it's probably because Minshew didn't show you what you wanted to see. So give this year to him to see what he can do. Getting a guy like Becton to protect him, maybe another weapon at some point. They probably do need to take a corner though as well at some point to replace the 2 that they've lost over the last season. But yeah, I would give Minshew this season. And like I said, for me personally, I have them being the worst team, and I would just select Trevor Lawrence next year at number 1. So
it's
That was
full
kind of what I was
rebuild mode.
thinking earlier too. With some teams,
Rebuild.
it's like, well,
It is full rebuild mode for that Jags team, no doubt
Mhm.
about it. So I think Rich, you made a great pick there. I think you build that cast around Minshew, see what he can do, and if Minshew's not it, I mean, they have 3 in the top 42. You find 3 good players there, and you start building this roster back up. When you have a quarterback available to you, like I agree. I think they're probably gonna be a top 2 pick next year. So Fields, Lawrence, you're gonna get that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
We kind of skipped over the Becton part of that because of the quarterback question. But with Becton, I think his best football is still ahead. I love the pick, and we're kind of banking on upside there, but he's still a guy that's going to come in and be able to play right away. It's just how good is he going to be? He's already good now, but how good is he going to be? Because he's going to get better.
Yeah, exactly. And he's going to have time to refine his technical issues and really just solidify himself as the pass protector that he can be. Like I said, he could be a Tyron Smith level guy, or he could be a Levi Brown level guy. It's a high ceiling and a low floor, depending on how quickly he can develop.
Yeah. And that would be the only thing that I would worry about, though, I guess, is he in the right environment to reach that ceiling, being in Jacksonville? But you're banking on the upside there. I have no issue with the pick.
He might be in London soon, to be fair.
What's that?
He might move to London soon.
True.
Yeah,
You're
Mexico
not
City.
wrong.
That's true.
Mexico City.
Change of scenery.
Okay, so the Browns sit at number 10. That would be Nate again.
We need to talk about this before Nate picks, because if everyone remembers in the group chat, right, we waited for 24 hours.
Oh, this was the one, wasn't it? I hate myself for that one.
Great moment simulating that. Wow.
There's 2 of them.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure
He's
Richie
big
picked
enough.
it was like 11:03 or 11:08 because I made sure to look at the time, and the next day I was like, it's been 24 hours and Nate still hasn't picked.
Then he goes, I'm taking Mekhi Becton.
Then he wanted to blame us for not telling him.
Hey,
attention.
I'm good. I'll see you later.
The mock roll on.
He was
You
too
guys
busy.
can
Mekhi
take over.
Becton's.
He was
so
too
the-
busy taking a pee.
So it is the Browns. You guys got me off. That's fine though. That's normal for Browns guys.
Had to.
Yeah, you got to. Andrew Thomas is going to be the pickup here next for the Browns. The run on tackles continuing here. He started for 3 years at the left tackle spot in a pro style offense at Georgia. He's executed and succeeded against some of the best players that college football's had to throw at you. Great run blocker. Footwork, from what I've seen, and this is just my opinion, can use some work trying to get that consistency from him. He's shown flashes of being top tier, and then he's had some times where it's kind of been against a speed rush is one thing that I've noticed is where he can struggle and get his feet out from under him or just get off balance a little bit. So he's got all the gifts that you can want, and I think at this spot, a lot of it, if you are looking for a tackle, kind of after those top 2, for me, it is going to be between Becton and Thomas here in these kind of more early middle parts of this first round.
Smitty, what was the long face for when you made the pick?
Because I'm sitting here with the
Oh.
Miami Dolphins, wondering how the hell I'm going to protect Tua next year.
Not. The red shirt, remember?
No, but listen. So yeah, that's what I'm
They
saying.
fooled
Ryan
him.
Fitzpatrick's on his own this year.
I'd say that hit better be pretty good because he's got to scramble a lot.
Start building up
Ryan
some good
Fitzpatrick's
life
on his own this
insurance.
year.
Just sit him.
Tua's not playing.
Yeah, sit Tua. Get Penei Sewell next year. You're good. You're fine.
Yeah. We're going to be number 2. The Jags can pick up Trevor Lawrence at number 1.
There you go.
This is already the plan. I'm relaying it to Brian Flores right now.
Right now. Yep. We're gonna be
Okay.
bad this year, Dolphins fans. I'm sorry.
All right, so the Jets are up next. That would be Richie. Back to Richie.
Jets are going to take the first receiver off the board, and they're going to take CeeDee Lamb right here. So, from what I understand, there's going to be a lot of parity in the sense of who's going to be the number one receiver on different teams' board. It could be Jerry Jeudy and his finesse and his route running and his soft hands. It could be Henry Ruggs with his deep speed and his overall complete game. But for me, it's going to be CeeDee Lamb and the ability to create after the catch and just torch defenses. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he ran a 4.5, which is pretty darn solid for the play style that he has. The most important thing here is once the ball is in his hands, he can do anything with it. You can go back and look at the Texas game where there were like 7 defenders around him. And if you freeze frame that picture and you told me he's going to score a touchdown on this play, I'd tell you you're stupid. You know, there's just no way. But there, with CeeDee Lamb, where there's a will, there is a way, and he finds ways to create. And that's something the Jets need right now is they need a receiver that can create because they don't have much going on at that position. And Sam Darnold needs some guys to throw to.
Yeah, I like the pick. I think that he's gonna when he catches the ball on like a screen or something, he's be like, "Wait a minute, this isn't Big 12 defenses trying to tackle me."
Oh yeah, totally. Don't get me wrong. He had a lot of room to work with there, but he's still very special.
No, I like CeeDee Lamb. He is my wide receiver one as well. So to see him be the first wide receiver take off the board, completely agree with it. As you mentioned, Sam Darnold needs weapons. They pretty much re-signed their entire offensive line, which I think that they needed to improve upon, not bring back all those guys, but bringing them back, I think puts them in a position to draft a receiver. There's a lot of smoke there. I saw a lot though today about, do they like Ruggs more? But yeah, I have no problem with a CeeDee Lamb pick. Like I said, he is my top receiver. So him being the first off the board, I'm completely fine with that.
You know, it's funny. Last year I was watching an Oklahoma game and I was sitting there like, how tall is CeeDee Lamb? Because I'm watching him play and like the way he plays, he didn't seem that tall to me. I thought he was like 5'11", and then I realized he was 6'2". I was like, oh, he's a big dude doing this as well. And that makes it even more impressive to me. All right, so I have the next pick, so I'll just keep talking.
Okay.
So I have the first pick that the 49ers have at number 13, and I'm taking the second one.
Wait, time out.
Whoa.
Wait.
The Raiders pick number 12 before 13.
Okay. Well, I thought, never mind.
They didn't run out of time. This wasn't a Miami Viking
Okay.
situation.
That's my bad.
He wasn't
That's my
making
bad.
this pick.
Like I got.
Yeah, Jake has the Raiders here.
It's okay. Jerry Judy's gonna be there. Promise.
Yeah.
Plot twist. We're changing the pick now.
We're gonna change the pick. We're gonna have to change the entire draft.
He really wants him. So I kind of went a little off book here with this one for the Raiders. I went Javon Kinlaw. Probably a little shocking since Judy and Ruggs are both on the board. I kind of think that CeeDee Lamb is Gruden's guy at receiver. And if he's not there with 3 third-round picks, or maybe even the second pick in the first, he'll look to add someone else. I really think CeeDee's his guy. It just fits the mold of a Mayock Gruden player. So I went Kinlaw, who, man, I'm going to say it now. He's my D-tackle one, personally. I think the upside's there as a pass rusher. He's just – I did not even expect to like his tape as much as I did because, man, he's just a force out there. It takes double teams to stop him. And – to have that presence in there, I know there are a couple of guys on that interior defensive line they like it right now, but you got Cleveland Ferrell and Max Crosby has done really well there. Mo Hurst, he's coming along. I mean, that was a pretty decent value pick in round 5 a couple of years ago, but now you add just a true difference maker there in Javon Kinlaw, who I believe has a great ceiling. And so, that was the reasoning there, and that probably won't be very popular, but.
I like that you brought up that he was your defensive tackle one because I wanted to wait until he was picked to bring up the argument with him versus Derek Brown. And, Donnie mentioned the motor with Derek Brown. Like, is he always in the game? He might take some snaps off, and I think that that's a question mark where I don't think that it is with Kinlaw. I think that the motor is always on 100. I think that he's go. I
Yes.
don't. I think that it is a good pick. Like I would probably expect them to take like a Henry Ruggs. I think that a lot of people
Yeah.
would slate him in that spot. But yeah, going Kinlaw, that team still needs help on defense. You mentioned the additions that they had last year, the contributions that they maybe didn't expect to get right away from a guy like Max Crosby. But yeah, having him plug the middle of that defense on the line, that's going to give Crosby and Farrell even more room to work with. So
Yeah, difference maker. And I know D tackle is always not a popular pick. 'Cause I know there's been stuff on Twitter about
not sexy.
it's like, oh, look at all the defensive tackles that were picked last decade in the first round, or like any of them, really happy with any of them. But I don't know. I feel like Kinlock could be one of those guys that I'm pretty happy with.
Games are won and lost in the trenches, though. And I mean, building the defensive line is what helped the 49ers to get the defense that they had last year.
Yeah.
Speaking of the 49ers,
Really can.
speaking of the 49ers, they are allowed to walk back up to the podium now. They had to be escorted off the first time.
Sorry, I just jumped the gun on that one. But yes, the 49ers are picking Jerry Jeudy, the second wide receiver taken. He is my wide receiver 2 as well. I have CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver 1. But if you look at the wide receiver depth on the 49ers roster, it is not great at all. They have an elite run game that was relevant last year in the playoffs especially. But you've got George Kittle and Deebo Samuel and the top 2, and then after that you don't really have much there. So Jerry Jeudy, he's probably the best route runner of the past, I don't know, like few years. He's the most pure route runner. So either him or Lamb was a good pick, but he was the next wide receiver on the board, so that's why the 49ers are taking him.
I think he's a perfect fit for Kyle Shanahan. I personally think that he's a better fit for the 49ers than Lamb, even though I have Lamb as the better wide receiver prospect.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll fit into the offense. I just think whenever I think of the 49ers offense, I am thinking about the end of the Super Bowl where they had to make it down the field and they couldn't. And whenever I think they could have used like route running like Judy's, that's especially what makes me take him. Because really in the Super Bowl without George Kittle, they had like no passing game. So that's their main concern for me, and so that's why I'm taking Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, we could have had Garoppolo miss a wide open Jerry Jeudy instead of an Emmanuel Sanders.
Yes.
Yeah, don't get me
Goodness
started on
gracious.
Garoppolo. I am not high on him, and I'm pretty open about that. But if he has better wide receivers, it might help him out.
Yeah, I'm with Tyler on that one.
People underrate Judy's speed too. I know he didn't run super fast at the combine.
I mean, he ran a 4.46, I think.
Yeah,
That's still pretty quick.
I know.
It's crazy when that is considered as like slower. Like
The
that
problem-
is-
I think the problem with Jeudy is that, or no, it's not even his problem. It's that on his team that last year he was
Yeah.
compared to like he was next to Ruggs,
Yeah.
so he was
Yeah.
looked slow.
And Waddle too. So it's like
Devontae Smith.
Too.
Devontae Smith's very fast too.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was like the best wide receiver core ever. So he looks slow compared to those guys, but you put him on any other team, he might be the fastest receiver they have.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, the Bucks are next, so you can just keep talking.
All right. So with the Bucks, we're switching over to defense for the Bucks pick, and Nate probably likes this one. I'm picking Clavon Chaisson. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
I'm pretty sure it's Chison. but
Chaisson.
It's
really-
mostly said Chason, so you do you, boo.
All right, Chaisson's easier. Clavon Chaisson, he's an outside linebacker out of LSU. And I was gonna go tackle if one of the tackles I wanted were there, but they weren't. So
Tell me
I
about it.
looked.
Sorry about that.
I looked to defense next, and whenever I was looking at the Buccaneers defense, I was looking at their edge rushers, and they have Jason Pierre-Paul, which they just signed to a 2-year contract. But he's 31, so he's getting up there in age, and they also have Shaquille Barrett, which they signed to a 1-year contract. But I think if they take Chase on, it just shores up that edge rush. And Chase on he had a good freshman year at LSU, and then his sophomore year, and I believe it was in the first game he tore his ACL. And so Yeah, and so last year, I mean, that defense was awesome at LSU, and he was one of the leaders on that team. So, yeah, the Buccaneers taking him.
Yeah, like you mentioned, if one of the tackles were there, that could be the pick. If Kinlaw were there, he could be the pick to be in the middle as opposed to the edge rush, which is an immediate need with JPP and Barrett. But Barrett is only there on the franchise tag. And as you mentioned, JPP is getting up there in age at 31 years old. This is a guy that can at least come in and rotate with those two immediately. And then if Barrett prices himself out, which if he has a season like he did this past year is probably going to happen, then you have his replacement on a rookie deal. So
Yeah, I also think for his size, I think when I looked, he was like 6'3", 254. I think he has underrated speed on the outside for the size that he has.
you mentioned Jeff Okuda's feet. The footwork on this guy's insane too for an edge rusher.
Yeah.
He works out with that. We mentioned him on the 7-round mock draft Donnie and I did yesterday with her. We mentioned the footwork king. He works out with him too. So
yeah, any big guy that can move like that gets my attention. Wait, pause. Never mind.
Run that back for me. Real quick.
Imagine that happening in
Here's
a
your
draft.
clip.
Up at the podium. Wait, pause.
All right, can we move on?
Are we drinking that? Because that was an LSU pick.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
White Claw.
I don't have anything left.
It's the best.
I'll drink water out of my San Diego Padres.
The Broncos are up in that situation. So
Here you go. Oh, that is me. Okay. Yeah, so this was pretty easy. I think for the Broncos.
I agree.
Anytime Henry Ruggs falls at 15, you got to make that pick. Perfect compliment to Cortland Sutton right there. And again, the Broncos, as much as there's pushback, I still think they should be in the mix for a tackle, but they're all gone. At least value-wise at this point. So again, you're getting Ruggs. You get the speed, obviously, right off the bat. You get that 4.29 speed, which is absurd. But you get a guy who can win in contested spots more than people realize. I think he didn't do it as much this year, so you didn't see it. But the year where Tua was healthy back in 2018, he had some plays like that were wow plays. Yeah, in those situations. Also, I think he's better route runner than people give him credit for. Again, I think the top three have separated themselves completely from the rest, and that's no dig at your boy Justin Jefferson, Nate.
I understand that.
But I think I do think Ruggs has that the chance to be wide receiver one in this class, just like the other two do. So again, anytime you can, give a young quarterback weapons like Ruggs, you have Sutton now. I mean, Noah Fant's there. They're probably expecting big things from him in year two, and they should be.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, you're giving Locke everything he needs to become, a franchise quarterback. So again, if it fails, it's either going to fall on coaching or Locke at this point. If you get Sutton, Fant, and Ruggs,
And all those running backs too.
they have a lot. Yeah, that's true. Gordon there now too. Yeah, they got everything.
Yeah.
That's a nice looking wide receiver group and just offense in general.
Yeah,
Yeah, there'd be no excuses.
I thought
Yeah.
it was crazy whenever I saw people on Twitter getting disappointed that Ruggs didn't run faster than a 4.27. Like, are you kidding me?
Who cares? We know what he does in the game.
I
We know
know.
what he
that's-
does with pads on with a football.
Like-
And I also saw the argument that you could argue that Ruggs wasn't running 100% because you see what John Ross did to his hamstring after he broke the record. And so he didn't want to do that. So you could say that he could run faster, but he just didn't. Well, yeah, broke the record. But
Put that out there.
like people are saying like that's not even his full speed, but people were mad that he ran a 4.27. I thought that was so stupid.
That's silly.
I mean, it would have been awesome if he broke it, no doubt.
There wasn't even an
But, like,
island on the line this time.
I know.
Yeah, I know. People were thinking Ruggs could run like a 4.19. But
Yeah, and I think it's because of how fast he is that people underrate like literally every other aspect of this guy's game. They think he's just a straight speed guy.
Yes.
That's not the case.
Yeah.
and I think you could be like the inverse of Judy, where people don't look at Judy's speed because they have Ruggs. People don't look at his route running because they had Judy. I mean, it's kind of like they took things away from each other just because they were complimenting each other as well.
Yeah, people
Yeah, that's
like,
spot on,
okay,
Tyler.
Yeah, Judy and Smith especially both have those, ridiculous release packages. So they're like, all right, well, Ruggs can't do that on press. It's like, yeah, he kind of can. Like, it's not as sharp, but
Yeah,
still
I mean
got it.
that Alabama wide receiver core, we're talking like arguably the best all time.
I love how people were. There were people at the beginning of the year that like, is the Michigan receiving core better? What are you talking about?
DPJ
Wow.
hype, yeah.
I saw some people saying USC too, but I mean I
I
do like
remember
USC
your guy coming
receivers,
out.
but they're not nearly as good as Alabama's.
Right.
Uh,
In all fairness, the Alabama receivers didn't have the legendary Shea Patterson throwing to them, so really just a disadvantage.
true.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here with the Falcons at 16. GM's on the hot seat, coach is on the hot seat. We got to get it right this year. Trufant left. They released him. He's now in Detroit. They need a number one cornerback. I want CJ Henderson here. And I think that this is what they will do. For me personally, I like Jeff Gladney a little better than CJ Henderson. He's just below Okuda for me as the cornerback number 2. But I think CJ Henderson's the guy here specifically for the Falcons. I think they would have loved for Chason to fall here, but he didn't. So they go with CJ Henderson to replace that number one corner that left in Trufant and immediately steps in and becomes that number one corner there. As I said, I like Gladney a little bit better, but I think that Henderson kind of fits what Atlanta wants to do a little bit better than Gladney might.
I love me some Gladney, by the way.
I know. I've seen that on Twitter.
Ooh, baby, I love it.
Who has number? I gotta switch my notes back.
I think
It's the Cowboys at 17.
I don't know who has it.
Yeah, who's got the Cowboys at 17? That would be
Yoo-hoo.
Richie. Weedham Boys.
All right.
Jerry World.
All right. We them boys, Jerry World, Logan J. Bell, please forgive me for I am about to sin. I got the Cowboys taking who should have won the Jim Thorpe Award and Antoine Winfield Jr., not senior. Antoine Winfield Sr. is a future Hall of Famer for the ball hawk that he was for the Seahawks and the Vikings, and his son follows in his footsteps. Winfield Jr. was an absolute terror on the back end for the Minnesota Gophers for the past couple of years. He had 6 interceptions this last season. Like I said, he should have won the Thorpe Award. Dude is rangy. He can line up in the nickel. He can play deep safety. But what's going to be invaluable for him is the Cowboys have to find a way to replace Byron Jones at corner and really just need a cover man in general. Well, you plug in Winfield, and that's going to help your secondary out by being able to take away anything over the top. So he's not a corner, but he's a safety that can make a difference.
I love me some Antoine Winfield Jr. So I have no problem with the pick. I think a lot of people might consider that a reach. But hey, like you mentioned, they got a lot of holes in that secondary to replace. So, and he's a building block type defender for them to add to it. I saw somebody just now in the oh, there's Logan. I give my seal of approval. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
My guy.
Someone did say Falcons moving up for Kinlaw, and I have seen a lot of smoke specifically today with the Falcons trying to move up.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would come to fruition, but yeah, that could definitely be one of the guys that they would move up for. I mean, you talked about it's definitely going to be on defense for me. The Falcons have to go defense here, whether it be corner, edge, or interior moving up for Kinlaw. But as I mentioned, we didn't get any trades completed in this draft, so I had to sit there at 16 and see what was available for me. I'm
Who's
sitting at
everyone's top
18.
Safety?
What's that?
Who's everyone's top safety?
Probably Winfield.
I think
I figured Richie thought Winfield.
it's not Delpit for me. I'll say that.
It's not Delpit. Definitely not.
Mine was Del Pitt last September.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nate-
everyone was.
Nate
Well,
remembers
I
when I
mean,
had Delpit.
Delpit was almost a consensus top 10 pick last year. I mean, that's the crazy thing. Like that was common. And now he might not be a first rounder. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's like when we traded the pick for Minka, we were talking about like we don't even care, like unless that pick's in the top 10 and we could take Delpit, we didn't care about the trade. And now it's like, well, we wouldn't have wanted Delpit anyway. Like that would not have been.
Yeah.
Hey, you might be able to get him at 49 now.
It's happening in some mocks. But okay, speaking of safeties, the Dolphins sitting here at 18. As I mentioned, that Minka Fitzpatrick trade, they're going to take Xavier McKinney here. And the reason is he's been called Baby Minka. I think that they can take him and make him what they wanted Minka to be there in Miami as a chess piece on the defense, playing multiple roles. Yeah, I think that they're going to fall in love with this guy with the idea of, hey, this guy's going to come in and do exactly what we were hoping Minka would do. So once again, the run that we had on tackles and everything, I don't see the value in picking one here over a guy that is going to be utilized as a chess piece on this defense and fills the need that was, vacated with the trade of Minka Fitzpatrick. No rebuttals?
He's a good
No,
player.
I think that's a good
I
pick.
like it.
I think
He's a good
I think
player.
it's just super safe.
When's
Yeah.
he going to be a Steeler?
when he requests a trade.
Nice.
Halfway in the next year.
Okay, so sitting at 19, we got the Raiders again.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea why I didn't pick Jeff Gladney. No idea. Because I love him.
You wanted to
No
save him for the
improvising.
Packers or Colts.
Yeah, I did want to save him for the Packers, not gonna lie. I would love him at 30. And that's a lot of people hate that. I don't understand. Yeah, so I didn't go Gladney. I don't know. He just doesn't seem like he'll be a Raider in my eyes. I don't know. I don't know. I think Christian Fulton is the type of player that will be a Raider. And he's another guy who, mock drafts, the media in general have gone cold on for some time. Oh, wait, it's LSU.
Oh, yep, good call.
Yep.
Oh, I've almost forgot. Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think I don't know if there are a lot of questions really with Fulton's game. I think he's well rounded and it's a safe pick. I don't remember who someone said that, but it is safe. I mirror match, man coverage. Maybe a little bit. The concern is mistiming jumps downfield. Again, in contested spots, that definitely showed up in the Texas game. I remember that vividly. But again, you're getting a guy who's be in your face in man coverage, and the team needs corners. There's no doubt about that. So
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a corner. I think that the only question is which one is it going to be. As you mentioned, Gladney just doesn't have Raider written all over him, where I think Christian Fulton kind of does, opposite Trayvon Mullen, because behind that, they got Nevin Lawson, Keeson Nixon, Isaiah Johnson, and 3 guys that are on future reserve contracts. So, yeah, they got to bring in a corner to play on the other side, Trayvon Mullen, who was a nice surprise for them last year. But, yeah, the corner's got to be the pick here, whether it be Fulton, Gladney, if Henderson doesn't go beforehand, potentially him. But, yeah, I would say it's one of those 3 guys that second tier under Jeff Okudah. One of those guys is going to be a Raider at 19.
Yeah.
So
I really think Gruden's going to take a senior at corner. That's my guess. I think Mayock and Gruden are going to be like, yeah, we want a senior at corner who's had a lot of experience as a starter. I think they like that. I mean, it was pretty clear with Cleveland Ferrell. They liked him, went back, I mean, it was a shocking pick, but
yeah.
they stay true to that. And so,
all right, so moving on to pick number 20, that will be the Jacksonville Jaguars, their second first-round selection, and Richie's got that pick.
All right, boys, get ready to drink again because it's going to be LSU's Justin Jefferson. They hit a home run with DJ Chark, so go right back to the same pool for LSU wide receivers. Justin Jefferson was an absolute stud last year. What he was able to do with Joe Burrow in the offense and the numbers he put up with so many other people around them was absolutely insane. And he's just a crafty route runner. He's quick, and he makes you look stupid in the open field. You can't go wrong here. He can be your number 1. He can be your number 2. He can be your number 3. Wherever you need Justin Jefferson to play, he's going to go there, and he's going to play it very well. Him and DJ Chark could be nasty, and I just gave them a left tackle too. So we're really loading up on Gardner Minshew to see if he can be the future this year.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, with them rebuilding and knowing Trevor Lawrence is going to be out there next year, they kind of got to figure that out within 1 year if he is the guy. So we'll see. I like to pick. We're starting to get after that top 3, then you start to have the conversation with, him, Denzel Mims, potentially who we're going here with the next pick for the Philadelphia Eagles at 21. That would be Beefy.
Yep. The Eagles, they're going to wide receiver as well, and they're picking T. Higgins out of Clemson. T. Higgins, he's one of the bigger wide receivers in the draft. He's 6'4", I believe. And in college, he had the production. He's got the size. He's got the length. He's got the catch radius. Big play production. He can pretty much. He's like a do-it-all receiver kind of. And he did a lot of his work from the outside, which I think the Eagles could have, because I think I saw a stat today actually when I was looking at stuff to talk about for him, and the Eagles had no receiver over 500 yards, but Wentz still had a 4,000-yard season.
Wild.
And,
That's insane.
Yeah, and so they need to get a big play guy, and they're going with T. Higgins.
Yeah. For me personally, I like Denzel Mims a little bit more than T. Higgins, but big wide receiver, as you mentioned. I know that it's kind of a mixed bag with T. Higgins. I don't know where you guys all stand, but I've seen a lot of people that might not even have him as like in the top 10 wide receivers. So, in a loaded draft class at that position, yeah, the variance is pretty high on a guy like him. As I mentioned, you have the Lambs, the Judys, the Ruggs, and then you have that second tier that you think T. Higgins falls into, but where is he at in that second tier, along with Justin Jefferson, Denzel Mims, a boomer bust guy that in LaVisca Chenault, Jalen Reagor,
I did also think of Denzel Mims with this pick, but then I thought Eagles fans have dealt with Nelson Aguilar dropping balls, and so I know Denzel Mims that's like one of the worries about him is his drop balls. So I just went with T. Higgins. I'll spare Eagles fans a little bit.
It came out, I think, so it wasn't last year, it was the prior year where he really struggled with drops. And I think it just came out today that he was playing that season with a broken wrist or something like that.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Broken hands.
But that's like, yeah, the Eagles were
Convenient.
sitting there. They actually were writing on the card that they were taking Denzel Mims. They were like, these guys really hated Nelson Aguilar last year.
Yep.
We're taking T. Higgins.
Well, I mean, you look at the receiver depth, and it's just awful. They're looking to shop Alshon Jeffrey. They don't. Nelson Aguilar is on the Raiders, and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside had abysmal rookie season compared to like what I thought he would do. So they need some help at wide receiver. So if they don't take T. Higgins, then pick another wide receiver. But in my draft, they're taking T. Higgins.
Imagine going J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf.
Could not be me.
Could
Yikes.
not be me. Or Andy Isabella.
I was high on
yeah.
Arcega-Whiteside, but I wouldn't have done that.
Even Paris
Speaking
Campbell, too.
specifically for the Eagles pick here, I mean, they got to consider corner as well. But with what you just mentioned, like that stat alone for Carson Wentz last year, the guy needs help. He deserves the help. It's got to be a receiver for me.
Yeah, that's really what I was looking at. Is like when I heard that stat and I looked at their receivers and what they're dealing with in that position, that needs to be their main focus, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so the
you're
Dolphins,
probably getting Aller Alshon, which is
the Vikings now have 2 first-round picks after that trade with Buffalo. Donnie, you got the Dolphins here. Dolphins. Why do I keep saying Dolphins? I'm stuck on the
You're
Dolphins.
mad the Dolphins
Donnie, you got
didn't get a top
the
10.
Donnie, you got the Vikings here, and you just switched on my screen. By the way, that was weird. But you got the Vikings. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as you can see behind me, still heavy discussion in the war room. 2 first picks here in the 20 range. There's a lot of needs they can go here. They can adjust cornerback position. They can grab another wide receiver. The heavy talk about Odell coming here, but we can get to that on another scale. I think here they go AJ Epinesa, edge Iowa. We're talking about a guy who was talked about as a potential top 10 pick before the season began. Didn't test super phenomenally. Me and Richie were talking about this last night. Still, when it comes down to it, he's a phenomenal pass rusher. He can get to the quarterback. Everson Griffin's out of the picture. They're going to need somebody to get after quarterbacks in the NFC North, and AJ Epinesa is the guy right there. So I don't know where you guys fall on Epinesa. I don't know if you think he will slide out of the first. I don't know if you think he should be a top 15 pick, but he's all over the board for a lot of people.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if the Dolphins can make the rest of the picks because I keep wanting to say their name.
Yes.
How many
I did
picks
a
do you
mock
think?
draft yesterday that Epinesa was there when the Steelers were picking at 49.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I picked them, but
You're not stupid.
But even like the mock draft simulators, even though how stupid they are, like some of them have him going that low, and I just don't see that happening.
I don't either. I think he's a first round guy, probably what it's going to turn out. I think he goes before Gross Matos, and I have him probably early second in that category. So I think Epinesa here is pretty good, honestly, as far as it goes for the Vikings.
See, that's what I struggle with because I know Gross Matos is getting a lot of hype,
Yeah.
sneaking into that like 20s range. So I'm not super sure where like executives fall on him.
I am just right now of this mindset. I don't know if it's because of being in a group chat with certain people to where I'm like just not listening to what anyone else says, because people are so bored and they're extra bored this year because we're all stuck inside. And I just think that some things, man, they're just going a little too much. They're going a little too much with certain players. Like, why 1 week before the draft are you seeing this in tape that you've watched 2 or 3 times? You know?
Yeah.
And to a point, of course, you have to listen a little bit, but I don't know.
I think with AJ Epinesa, I think that he's a first round talent. I think his ceiling is especially higher if you put him in the right system. Like, I think he'd be a perfect fit for like Matt Patricia in Detroit. You could see them maybe trade their first next year to try to get into the first round again with a second first round pick. I think that's perfect.
Mhm.
The fit in Minnesota, I like it as well. Same division, NFC North, as you mentioned, having good after the NFC North quarterbacks. I saw somebody in the chat say that they should probably go cornerback, but just wait a few more picks and you'll see what happens with their second first rounder anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned YGM from Penn State as well. I think that the only way that he's a first rounder is if a team like Seattle, they're known for reaching for guys that people don't think are first round picks. We saw it again just this last
year. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like every year they take an edge rusher that you don't think is a first round pick and make them a late first round pick. So we'll see.
No doubt.
The Epinesa projection, I think people are like hesitant because the profile athletically and like, his body type and everything is like, oh, there's not other people that, play like that, have that athletic profile that are good. But, there are guys like Barnett and there's guys like Trey Flowers are guys like that, who have that type of profile. Again, Epinesa is a good football player. I think if the Bills still had this pick, that would be one of my favorite fits for Epinesa.
Is it Epinesa or Epinesa? Have I been saying it wrong this entire process?
I have heard.
I don't know
those
because
two.
the other guy, I can't pronounce his name either. So
Yeah, I've heard those two, and then I've heard Epinesa. So who knows?
That's the one I've heard the most. But when I heard Donnie pronounce it that way, I was just gonna roll with it and hope we all said it the same way.
Yeah, same. But it just comes
have,
out
like,
how it comes
All
out.
right, somebody got it right.
Yeah, Espinoza.
That's what it's not.
Just change a letter.
we don't know.
Okay, so I just now realized, looking at this, that Donnie has 3 of 4 picks, and here's the second one of those. He's got the Patriots here at 23.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Tom Brady era is over in New England. There's been a lot of speculation about what they're going to do. Jameis Winston has been a possibility here.
He's going to be a Steeler, so.
Oh, definitely.
Get out of here.
The Patriots select Jordan Love, quarterback, and I think there's a couple different ways they can go here. I've heard from one particular person saying that Jalen Hurts might be a potential pick here at number 23, which is based off of the fit and mold that the Patriots like in quarterback. Jordan Love has a lot of like hit or miss attributes about him. His arm talent is crazy. I've seen him compared to Patrick Mahomes by a lot of people. But the decision making sometimes it's just completely not there. The Patriots take Love. They have the opportunity to mold him. They have a 5-year window with him being drafted in the first round to kind of see what they're working with. And if they don't like him in a year or two, Trevor Lawrence might be that guy next year. I've been kind of pounding that table, almost speaking it into existence. But they need to get a couple more weapons up there in New England. But you got to start with quarterback. So worst case scenario, he comes in and he pushes Jared Stidham for a starting spot.
So Jordan Love would actually be the guy that I would expect to be taken here at 23. But in most mocks, Justin Herbert would have also been gone by now. So You just like the fit better with Jordan Love than Justin Herbert. Was Justin Herbert considered here?
I'm just not a big Justin Herbert guy, man. I think we see
Amen.
guys like Herbert come through the draft almost every year. He's the ultimate big quarterback that you like as an NFL team. He's got a really strong arm. He can make throws left and right. But when it comes down to it, he just doesn't. For me, from what I've seen, he doesn't process things very well. And that is very, very important as a quarterback into the next level. So it's not so much the physical standpoint from Herbert. It's more so just like the mental aspect for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that Jordan Love makes a ton of sense here. I don't think that there's a guy that's more dependent on their landing spot than Jordan Love is. And to land in New England with Bill Belichick, I mean, that's the ideal scenario for him.
Had
Yeah,
3
you would
picks
just-
against BYU, by the way. Just
What's
saying.
that?
He had 3 picks against BYU, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah,
Weird flex, but okay.
His season last year was so weird.
He had a great 2018. 2018 Utah State's offense was awesome, but they lost some pieces and they had a new head coach and coaching
Yeah.
staff, and I think that affected him a lot.
Your head coach sucks.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
coaching situation there is
He's
bad,
awful.
like real bad.
He's awful.
You think that he's looked into like an eye surgery like Jameis Winston had?
Who, the coach or Jordan Love?
Both.
Probably both.
Jordan Love had an 18-18 season as opposed to Winston's 30-30. So
Just waiting for the 35-35 that's going to come out of this somehow. It's all right. The Patriots are going to acquire Josh Rosen and turn him into
Listen.
an all-pro, so it's fine.
If anybody in this draft class were to go 35-35, it's got to be Eason.
Yeah.
There was any
Cole McDonald, anybody?
someone mentioned Cole
He
McDonald
would
in
be
the chat
lucky.
earlier. They said he's the QB1 for them. Joking around, of course.
Well, okay. It's like,
clip it.
Yeah.
Flying Hawaiian.
Nate, your Saints are on the board here.
yeah. So this one, the Saints are in a pretty tough spot, but a good spot, I should say. Tough. I don't know why that came out of my mouth, but that's okay. So they're going to go ahead and fill a need here at the linebacker spot. Truthfully, this is a pretty common pick. It's not super flashy, but it's a huge need for them. They've let a couple of guys walk in free agency. They brought back a couple of guys as well. You saw Manti Te'o walk, and they're
Along
bringing
with his
back,
girlfriend.
yeah, and his girlfriend. What a beaut, that one. But they're returning to Mario Davis, who's the most important part of this defense, besides Cam Jordan, and probably Marshawn Lattimore, but that's another story. And truthfully, between linebacker, wide receiver, it's best player available there. Justin Jefferson's off the board. He's another popular one here. Patrick Queen is another popular one here. But Kenneth Murray, man, a tackling machine to pair next to DeMario. And that's going to be a lot of fun. You want to load up that defense for Drew Brees last season, probably in football, before he heads up into the upstairs booth and makes buku money because he's a smart guy. So it was this or Jeff Gladney for me, and that was tough. But I think you've got your corners coming back. You signed the Jackrabbit, Janoris Jenkins. You got Marshawn. You're bringing back PJ Williams, if I remember correctly. I'm all over the place right now. But so in linebacker, it's a nice selection here for me.
Yeah, you mentioned Patrick Queen. I guess it's like the debate between those
Mhm.
two
It's a
linebackers.
huge
Which one goes
talking point
first?
right
But
now.
Kenneth Murray is probably one of the only good players on that Oklahoma defense.
ever.
Like ever.
ever,
Yeah.
ever.
Okay, so Donnie, somebody earlier mentioned that the Vikings needed a cornerback, and just a second ago, Nate mentioned a certain name of a cornerback here. Why don't you go ahead and make the selection for the Vikings at 25?
Yeah, so the stars aligned for everybody here. So with the second Vikings pick, they go ahead and take Jeff Gladney, cornerback out of TCU. For my money, probably the best man-to-man cornerback in the draft process. After Okuda, you kind of get into that like Henderson, Fulton, like Gladney, kind of debate. It's all up to like personal choosing. Fulton went a little bit earlier. As the Vikings, I'm really happy to see Gladney fall to the mid-20s. Xavier Rhodes is gone. You're going up against guys like Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford and probably Nick Foles next year. Twice a season on top of all the other quarterbacks and what's become a passing league. So Jeff Gladney, he can come and start right away on the outside, and I think it's tremendous value for where they were sitting.
I love it. I mentioned 10 picks ago why I loved it.
Great pick.
Yep.
So I'm sitting here with the Dolphins' third pick. Would have loved to have taken a tackle earlier. I missed the buck on that one. And now I'm wondering what the hell I'm going to do for the offensive line. So here I'm taking Josh Jones from Houston. Had a pretty impressive Senior Bowl, which we all got to see firsthand. Banking on the upside here. Hope he can come in and at least play right tackle for us immediately and maybe transition to the left tackle of the future as time goes on and he develops more and more, gets the coaching staff under his belt. But yeah, we need an offensive lineman at some point. I think the upside is definitely there. I don't think that he's one of, the top 4 tackles. But I think that he's in either 5 or 6. And here the Dolphins will bank on the upside, hope he can step in, play right away. And then as time goes on, eventually be the left tackle of the future.
No, I've seen a lot of Josh Jones kind of fall in that area. The jury's kind of debatable on him. Him and Cesar Ruiz from Michigan as well. Those are the 2 big offensive linemen. Sorry, you see kind of going around this area. So no, good pick.
I'm a big Ruiz fan actually, but
Me too.
okay. Next up we got speaking of
Yeah, exactly.
I noticed
way
that.
to ruin the pick, Donnie. The
He's like,
Seahawks pick 27.
Yeah, Seattle on the clock. I was really tempted to go just full Seattle, take like Jonathan Grenard or Zach Moss. Those were the 2 guys I was like, man, that would be totally a Seattle pick. One of those 2. Not that they're bad players, they're just not first round players. So, but I outdoing John Schneider apparently. Most likely. We're sitting here a week from now. They probably won't be on the clock at this point, but yeah, Cesar Ruiz. Seattle needs offensive line help. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple as that. I think Ruiz, again, it kind of interesting that he rose later in the process, not really during the season. People weren't talking about him as much, but again, he's good mobility, good power as a center. I think he's well-rounded enough to come in right away. Again, kind of surprised he was still on the board because, like we mentioned, the Dolphins, even the Vikings potentially could have been in the mix there for him. So, yeah, I think the Seahawks are getting great value here at a position where you got to start protecting. Russell Wilson's getting a little bit older now. It's crazy to think about that Wilson's getting up there, but it's true. And, he's not going to be able to run around forever. He's still a great pocket passer, though. So, help him out there. Get Ruiz in the building.
Yeah, their center, Joey Hunt, got exposed a lot last year. So for Ruiz to hopefully come in and play center, I mean, at the worst, you're looking at him playing guard and maybe stepping into the center role. But I think that he's a plug-and-play center. Like I said, I'm a big fan of him. So I love the pick, as you mentioned. Yeah, Russell Wilson needs more help. He just can't keep running around back there forever. So, yeah. Love the pick.
Just don't be surprised when it's not that.
Yeah, they're going to try to draft Rashad Penny for another year.
Yeah.
Not that he was already taken.
Zach Moss.
That was honestly, that would be like the equivalent of that because that was one of the weirdest picks that I've ever seen.
Feels pretty similar. I'm like, all right, edge, who could they take? That would be shock people. It's like, I don't know, Julian Okora is pretty good. So I don't know if they would do that. So it was like, Jonathan Grenard makes a lot of sense,
Yeah. Okay. Moving along here. Oh God. Should we just skip over the Ravens pick?
Probably.
Yeah.
Good pick. So
No, Richie's got the Ravens here.
That team's just a bunch of tools anyways. Look, Baltimore's got a pretty good defense, but the one area that needed to improve was against the run. You saw Derrick Henry absolutely trounce them in the playoffs, despite a 14-2 season, number 1 seed, and looking like a Super Bowl contender. They got their butts kicked for 60 minutes because they couldn't stop the run. So what do they do here? They get a linebacker, not named Patrick Queen, named Malik Harrison from Ohio State. He's an absolute thumper in the front seven. He's great against the run. And what's going to work out great for him is he's still going to have big bodies ahead of him the way that he did at Ohio State, with guys like Brandon Williams and Calais Campbell cleaning up blocks and keeping him clean. And he's just going to be able to run all over the field. He's not quite Kenneth Murray. I was hoping for Kenneth Murray here, but I like Harrison a lot too. He's probably my third favorite linebacker, but in terms of run stuffing, he might be the best there is.
Mhm.
What happened to the Ravens in their playoff game again?
They got their butts kicked for 60
Did
minutes
you see me smiling when you said that?
by King Henry.
He's smiling the whole time.
Just wait. You keep going. I'm going to start crying. Is that what you want? Is that what you want on your show? You want to?
No, not on
A
here.
Ravens fan to cry? Yeah, we do.
Okay, speaking of kicking the Ravens' butt, the Titans are here with the next pick. Who is picking for the Titans? That would be
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the
This is Jake
Titans
Fromm.
defense, we're keeping going on that train. We're looking forward to playing the Ravens again at some point this year, and we're gonna try and counter that pick the best we can here, taking Neville Gallimore out of the way here. He's a former top prospect, Canada. He really turned into a force in that senior year, and he goes hard all the time when he's on the field. He doesn't take plays off as much as some of the other guys in this class, and I
Nate.
Where'd he go?
Oh,
think they can really work him into a fit product. Kind of a two-gap guy. If you teach him to two-gap, I think his ceiling goes up a little bit higher and make his hands a little bit better, and he can be really exciting. I think he'll be really fun for them to work with.
Yeah, we lost you for a second there, but I don't think we missed anything, to be honest.
Yeah,
Probably
I
not.
think we got everything there.
I think what he
90%
said-
of what I say is just filler anyway, so it all works out.
I think it
No,
cut off
I
the
love
reason-
Neville
He
Gallimore.
was talking about Derrick Henry running him over. I think.
Oh yeah, I was still talking about the Ravens at that point.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
why it
Richie.
cut off. Is for
well,
Richie.
go ahead. I think everybody in the group in the chat wants to hear more about how bad the Ravens are.
Can we see Derrick Henry and Neville Gallimore just go full speed at each other one time?
Do the
Oklahoma.
you remember that video of was it two girls on the beach doing the Oklahoma drill and the one girl
Yes.
Yes.
leveled?
Oh, like,
For some reason that just pops into my head whenever I think about that.
Who would have thought we would have two players on Oklahoma's defense going in the first round?
Not me.
look at us.
I mean, two
Look
players
at
out of that
us.
conference is a
Us.
stretch.
Who would have thought?
Who thought? Not me.
Not me.
All right, we're really getting down to the wire here. The Packers pick at number 30. That'd be Jake.
It is. Speaking of
Donnie, are you okay?
What just happened?
Donnie fell under the table in the war room.
yeah,
Donnie, what are you
everything
reporting?
still went on behind him. Nobody was phased by it. You know, the Steelers are really locked in.
Must be the Houston's war room because they've seen Bill O'Brien get fucked over enough times.
Isn't Houston's war room just Bill O'Brien?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was gonna say the Bills because he went through a table, but yeah, these are all great comparisons.
It wasn't on fire. It's not good.
Yeah, that's true. If it's not on fire, it's not a Bills table. But yeah, speaking of getting trounced in the playoffs, let's talk about the Packers, shall we? That was ugly.
Hey,
right?
at least your team made the playoffs. We can't say the same.
True.
We also had Duck Hodges as quarterback.
Oh well, you were being humble, and then you had to make an excuse.
I mean, it's a pretty good one if you watched him play.
Hey,
At least you guys have a first. Wait.
Nope.
Yeah,
All right, I'd like to thank everybody for joining.
Minka.
Yeah, our first round pick
Great
this year was
first round
Minka.
I'm
Great.
okay with this.
And I think that's pretty legitimate too.
I would say that's fine.
It worked out.
It's fine. It's okay. Patrick Queen was still here on the board. So is Justin Herbert. Wild.
Whack.
I really think if Patrick Queen's on the board, I really don't think Goody's going to even look at it. I don't think they value linebacker. I really don't. And people are going to be like really mad, I think, if Packers fans get a hold of this mock and they're like, you really didn't take Queen. It's like, yeah, they don't value it. Plus they added Kirksey in free agency. They got to feel good about that. So again, linebacker could be a late round thing for them. I really don't think that's going to happen here. The rumor about quarterback really frightens me. Because this is Rodgers' window is closing. So I went with what I think is the best receiver on the board, and that may be a bit of a hot take, bit of a iffy between everybody here. But I went Jalen Rager. I think they need speed. I don't know what it is about TCU players at the combine. They don't do well, don't get it at all. I don't know. I don't know about you guys. I didn't see mid 4.4s on tape.
Okay, he's another one where I think the combine 40 is just like it's just a TV like show to like give entertainment. If you watch his tape, he's fast. You don't need the combine to tell me he's fast.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the 3-cone time was even more kind of shocking because I don't think anybody doubts how sharp he can cut, how quick he is, after the catch, make defenders miss. Because TCU put him in those situations, reverses, getting the ball quick, all that stuff. I think Matt LaFleur will have, a lot of plays designed for Rager if he comes into this offense with that, like I said, with the speed. Again, you can fit him almost into that speed category or the gadget player category, and I think that's awesome. So getting a compliment to Devontae Adams is huge. Again, I think Rager can separate. I think he can win down the field. Again, concentration drops, yes, that's a problem. And if he is the pick, immediately Aaron Rodgers needs to know he can trust him to get him on the field. So that's just something he's got to work on. But again, I think he high points the ball really well for his size as well. Makes great adjustments on the football. Terrible quarterback play at TCU. That contributes to production. So I think Rager would be a solid pick here for the Packers at 30.
Yeah, I've seen him vary in different mock drafts I've done to like late first to like early to mid second. But I think he's more on the high end of that than towards the low end.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes because I think the speed is undeniable. And so when you miss out on guys like Henry Ruggs, Rager's got to be up there.
Yeah, and for someone like him, I'm taking what I see in his highlights rather than looking at his combine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who I listened to one time, and they said the 40 isn't really, it's about your speed, but it's not all about your speed. The combine is about your preparation and your training for it. So it's not necessarily a reflection of that true speed. You take a guy and run a 40, anybody can run a bad race. Usain Bolt's never perfect. So anybody can run a bad race. It's about when you do it at the right time. And maybe it just happened at the 40. Jalen Rager's wasn't the right time. It kind of happened.
Yeah, it's all about the get off even too.
Yeah.
It's like that get off, and there's not going to be a receiver who's lining up, in that stance.
Yeah.
Scrimmage, so.
And if they are, you should have a lot of questions about their technique.
Yeah. And maybe kind of similar to what I said with Ruggs. Granted, his was a lot slower than Ruggs was, but maybe he just didn't care that much about how fast he ran because everybody already knows how fast he is.
He also did bulk up, I will say. He added good 12 to 15 pounds, I think someone said. I think he was like 2 something, and it didn't look like he was that when he was playing at TCU. So
right.
A lot of factors go into that, like you said.
All right. Last 2 picks. Beefy, you got the 49ers with their second first-round selection here.
Yeah, the 49ers are going over to the defensive side of the ball and looking at the secondary, and they're taking Trayvon Diggs out of Alabama. So with this, kind of how whenever I said they are picking Jerry Jeudy, I was thinking of the Super Bowl. I thought of the Super Bowl when I was taking a corner as well. And I thought of the play whenever Sammy Watkins burnt Richard Sherman.
Awesome.
So I was like, yeah, they need a corner. And so Trayvon Diggs to me was the one that I liked that was still on the board. He's a more physical corner than a lot of the other ones. Like he'll press you up on coverage. I've seen a lot of people say though, like where he can struggle is like covering people for like lengths down the field, and his speed whenever he has to cover people for a long time. But I mean, in my draft, if he has to cover Jerry Jeudy in practice, he can work on that with him. But I mean, he's got wide receiver instincts, I think, is for a corner because I mean his brother Stephon Diggs. Yeah. So he's got like the catch talent in that. And he's also got the size too. Like 6'1" for a corner is a really good size. You don't see that a lot with a lot of today's corners. It's normally like 5'10", 5'11", but 6'1", 205. He's got a good size. So yeah, that's where they're taking him.
I think that they could potentially. I don't have a problem with him taking corner, and like you mentioned, the first 4 off the board. So if it wasn't going to be him, Arnett from Ohio State, their other cornerback, potentially AJ Terrell from Clemson. I mean, but yeah, I agree that Diggs is probably the best one left on the board. I think that they would have loved for the Dolphins for me to not pick Xavier McKinney at 18 and go with him here, but
Well, that's what I was hoping when I was like looking at picks way ahead, is that he could be there, but he got picked way beforehand. And I was kind of expecting that as well.
There's one thing about Diggs is, again, is he going to be like that, immediate stud? Not necessarily, but like best football might be in front of him at corner. And he has a great understanding of the receiver position and how receivers want to win and what they do to win early in routes. So having that knowledge is huge right off the bat.
Yeah, and
Right.
like I said, in my draft, if they could cover Jerry Judy in practice, and in the offseason, he can go cover his brother. So he can get a lot of practice in.
Pretty good practice.
Yeah.
Doubt.
all right. And Nate will round out our mock draft. Speaking of cornerbacks whose best football might be ahead.
Yeah, no kidding. Noah Igbenogany. You should have heard me try and pronounce this name the first time I said it. Jake knows just how bad it was. It was like Igbenogany. And then I said it all like confidently. So I tried to sell it, but it was just a no. But this, speaking of not only corners whose best game might be ahead of him, Igbenogany. I did it again. Igbenogany was originally a receiver coming out of high school and played both sides. So speaking of someone who knows that other side of the ball and how to play against it and what they really want, he's super intriguing, especially at this stage in the draft with Gladney and Diggs off the board ahead of him. He is really physical. So watching him in press coverage is really good. And at the very least, I think out of him, and this is absolute floor, run support, great. And special teams career, maybe the whole career that he'll play, but really the upside is there for him to be a top end CB1, CB2 for a team. I really like his burst. I like his physicality. I think his best stuff is, as we've said, definitely ahead of him.
Yeah, I would say secondary would be what the Chiefs should be addressing here at the last pick. This is the only spot, though, where we've seen, or at least me personally doing mock drafts, where I've seen a running back go in the first round.
No, definitely and that came into consideration because this running back class is really fun. And in our draft, we didn't take one, which as crazy as that seems, it's not that unlikely with how running back is valued right now.
Yeah, it's like if DeAndre Swift doesn't go first round, I mean, I don't think one goes.
No, me either. I would agree with that.
But we didn't see Patrick Queen go in the first round of our draft. We didn't see Denzel Mims go. We didn't see Justin Herbert go.
That's the big one, I think.
That's definitely the big
I didn't even realize that until we were recording it right now that Herbert wasn't taken.
As soon as I pulled up the list on Twitter when it was tweeting our message group, I'm like, wait, where is Herbert?
Right.
Like, oh, wow.
I think as a group, we probably all agree that if he were to fall to a certain point, someone is going to trade up and take him. It's going to happen.
Let's be honest. It's my fault. The Chargers will probably take him in a week. So
unforgivable.
Or if a team is going to be moving up, it's going to be the Colts, and Jake's going to have to write about it.
Yeah, true.
This is true.
One way or another, this is all coming back to you and Justin.
If the Colts take Jake Fromm in a week, I'm gonna be just.
Vogel's gonna be eating it up.
Right. All right. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. I want to thank all you guys for joining. Once again, this was a lot of fun. I tweeted at their socials already earlier today, but I will tweet them again when this goes up. To everybody that's watching, of course, thanks for watching. This has been the 2020 NFL Mock Draft with Around the 412 and friends. We can just call them the Mobile Crew from Alabama, the Senior Bowl. That was a fun time. Can't wait to be back there. But anyways, thanks again for joining, whether it be these guys here, you guys watching at home. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Bye.
Nate, I